Chapter 3. The wheel of a merchant's car runs over my toes. I bite back a yelp, but don't bother biting back my rather rude retort directed at the oblivious man who mindlessly crippling people with his car. Well, today's off to a great start. I slept fitfully last night, tossing and turning as I faded in and out of my reoccurring nightmares. Flashes of my father. Sorry, let me start again. Here we go. I love you. Flashes of my father dying while I can do nothing but hold his hand, climbing up a chimney only to find the top boarded up, and Adina, the only person I've left in this world, being dragged away from me screaming. Sometime between my numerous nightmares, Adina made a feeble attempt to shake me awake. I rolled over groaning, trying to cling to the little bit of blissful sleep I managed to steal. I may be the thief, but I'm regularly robbed of rest. Persistent per usual, Adina then switched up her strategy, deciding to pelt me with rough scraps of fabric until I finally raised a white cloth in surrender. The sun, lazy as ever, is slowly struggling to peek over the rundown buildings, casting Loot Alley in morning shadows, while I make my way down to the cobblestone path. As the street comes alive with the hustle and bustle of merchants, haggling while beggars plead with anyone who spares them a glance, I easily bend into the chaos that surrounds the slums. This is an interjection. I just want to tell you something funny. So I'm recording this, you have no idea, and you are currently semi on your way here. You're at an event that's around Tyler, and so I have your 360 up this whole time. So I'm watching this mug. I'm watching you. You have no idea, but I'm watching you. So anyway, I just wanted to tell you that that's really cute. And I'm trying to read this fast. Anyway, back to it that we are. My hands itch to snatch some food to quiet my grumbling stomach and to bring back for Adina. My eyes flick across the street in search of my next unfortunate victim to rob when something's not right. 14. There are only 14 Imperials lining the street. But I think there should be at least 16 today. I would know, seeing that I've memorized their rotations. I spot Egghead and Hooknose in their usual spots outside of Maria's shop, along with several other Imperials with equally accurate names. With the white leather mask obscuring half of their face from view, it's rather difficult to come up with creative nicknames for the bastards, so I pride myself on the few I invented. Normally, the prospect of fewer guards would be a relief, and perhaps it's my psychic abilities kicking in, but the sight worries me. My stomach growls angrily, impatient as ever. Okay, food first, funny feeling second. I zigzag through the crowd with ease, swiping apples from the cart that ran over my toes. The revenge is sweet as a crisp fruit I bite into. Leaning against the crumbling wall of a shop, I spot what looks to be a young apprentice haggling with a tradesman. I watch as he fixes the merchant with a glare before throwing down several coins and snatching up a bundle of what can only be black leather. My eyes skim over the shillings as they roll on top of the cart, counting them quickly to find far too many coins there for leather. He's in a hurry. That's why he's willing to pay double for what he should rather than take the time to negotiate a cheaper price. And he has the money to spare. The perfect target. I step onto the street and head for the boy now, quickly shoving through the crowd while I pull at the leather straps holding my hair out of my face and my neck. It falls down behind my back in a cascade of messy silver waves while I curse the sweltering heat that already has my neck sticky with sweat. Letting a curtain of hair fall over my shoulder and into my face, I morph myself into the perfect picture of innocence. Make them underestimate you. Make them overlook you until you want to be seen. It's been so long since I've heard my father's voice. That soft sound of it threatens to slip from my memory and drift into death with him. I thought shatters when we collide. I stumble, scrambling to grab hold of the unsuspecting apprentice as I let myself fall. Gathering a fistful of his shirt in one hand, I slip the other into his vest pocket where I saw him grab the coins. I can feel 6 shillings there, and resist the urge to grab all of them before only palming three. You see, greed is not an easily tamed emotion, but I force myself to leave the other coins, knowing that he's likely smart enough to feel the lack of weight in his pocket if I take them all. And I don't need to add any more scars to my back for getting caught. Dang, this girl gets whipped. But right as I'm about to pull out my hand and ramble an apology for nearly running the boy over, my fingers catch on the inside lining of his vest. No, not just the lining, a secret pocket. I feel a folded piece of parchment within it, and on impulse, I can't explain why or justify it, but I decided to palm it too before sliding my hand out and shyly looking into the apprentice's face. His brown eyes are wide as I stare up at him through the strands of hair blowing across my face. I arrange my expression into that of utter embarrassment and quickly uncurl my fist from his shirt. Blowing a strand of hair from my eyes, Dick stepped back and I put some space between us. I am so sorry. I forced myself to sound breathless, embarrassed, and harmless. I'm quite certain I'm the only person in all of Ilia who's capable of tripping on air. Go on. Underestimate me, overlook me. He runs a hand through his curly hair and chuckles. No worries. Guess you have quite the talent then. He wears a smile, but his gaze lingers a little too long for my liking. So I offer him a grin and nod of my head before turning on my heel and vanishing into the crowded street. The sugary scent of sticky buns wafts down the busy alley as I stroll past Maria's shop and sidestep into one of the many small alleys branching off Loot. The note I nicked grows damp and sweet as I grip the palm. What could possibly be written on this little piece of paper that warrants it to be hidden? I intend to find out. Flattening my back against the grimy brick wall, I unfold the edges of the paper to reveal a scribbled note. Oh my gosh, Grace, this mug's written in cursive. Meeting begins midnight. White House between Merchant and Elm. Bring the supplies. Boom. Killed it. Easy. My first language is cursive. I stare at the note, blinking in confusion while my heart races in anticipation. That's my house. Well, that was my house. I can tell by the slant of the letters and the smudging of ink that whoever wrote this was likely in a hurry to hide the note from prying eyes. Prying eyes like mine. Dozens of questions flood my mind, each one of them more confusing than the last. Why on this plague-forsaken earth are meetings being held at my house? Former house, you left it, remember? And to meet there in the middle of the night with the supplies, the leather. I trip over the uneven cobblestone, ripping me back to reality, and then realizing that I've been pacing this whole time. I shove the crumpled note back into my vest, mind still reeling as I step out onto the busy street and bathe in the sunlight. I shake my head, trying to clear it as I push through the throng of people battering, gossiping, and cursing. Beginning to wind through the merchant carts once again, I fall into the familiar rhythm that is my honest occupation, thieving. My mind wanders as I work, leaving me to wonder whether Adina is having any luck selling her clothes on the other end of the long street. I steal, she sews. And that's been our lives for the past 5 years. I was barely 13 and utterly alone in the world when Adina quite literally ran into me. While she phased right through me, I'll never forget the look on the Imperial's face as he sprinted after her, screaming about stolen pastries. And without a second thought, I didn't hesitate before sticking out my foot out into his path. As soon as I got a glimpse of the guard's face meeting the pavement, I was chasing after the gangly, curled hair girl who ran right through me. An uneasy alliance was born that day, and one that I suppose was to stay. My hand freezes midair, hovering over a plump grapefruit when a chilling scream cuts through the mayhem of loot. I twist around, fruit forgotten, searching through the throng of bodies to find the source of the noise. My eyes scan the crowd before snagging on a small, slumped figure crumpled against a wooden pole stained red at the center of the street. An Imperial hovers over the small boy, whip in hand, looking disgustingly pleased with himself as he stares down at the child. I know that look all too well. I've been that bleeding child far too many times. He got caught. I wonder what it was that he stole, what it was that could possibly justify such a beating. Some fruit? Maybe a few shillings from a merchant? I remember slumping up against the wood pole, shaking with the pain that caused each crack of the whip while I bite my tongue to keep from crying out. The pain fades, but the scars remain as a reminder to do better. The young ones always get caught. They're needy. They haven't learned to control their greed or live with their hunger yet, making them easy targets for the Imperial to use as examples. There's nothing you can do for them. I have to beat those words into my head to ensure my feet don't find their way to the boy, because I tried once. I tried to step in and help a little girl who reminded me of myself, so scared and yet so determined to never show it. When she looked up at me, the fire in her gaze reflected my own. In the end, my attempt to help only ended with extra lashings for the both of us. I grimace and quickly turned away from the gruesome scene, that only to get a mouthful of starchy, crumpled uniforms when I slam into the lowlife wearing it. The Imperial stares down at me, amusement flickering in his eyes, surrounded by the white mask. Though he looks to be at least 10 years my senior, blonde hair sticking up at odd angles, he takes his time lazily trailing his gaze over my body. I bite my tongue before I can say something that he'll likely make me regret. Imperials aren't known to be gentlemen when it comes to young girls, or to anyone for that matter, and I don't intend to find out if he's the exception. So sorry, sir. I seem to be madly clumsy today, I say, planning my escape through the crowd. A clammy ham wraps around my wrist and spins me back around. I summon every bit of strength I have to suppress the fighting instinct that screams at me to knee him in the groin and bash his head into the stones beneath my feet. Why in such a hurry? His toothy grin, black eye, sends a shiver down my spine, and the foul stench of alcohol in his breath only adds to my unease. I smile and force myself to be polite as I shake out his grasp. I'm just trying to run some errands before the market gets too crowded, that's all. He grunts, eyeing me skeptically. Says, what's your power, girl? I fight the urge to stiffen as he continues with a grin. By decree of the king, I'm to question anyone I feel should be questioned. He loves being in control, having power. I'm a mundane, I simply put, staring my tier on the elite's food chain. Oh, okay, here we go. I say, stating my tier on the elite's food chain to prove that I'm of little threat and importance to him. A psychic. I look right into his black eyes as I say it, willing his black heart to believe me. Is that right? I've never met a psychic before. He chuckles darkly and takes a step towards me, bending his head close to mine so I get another whiff of the alcohol clinging to him. Prove it, then. I'm growing quite tired of that demand. I meet the Imperial's eyes, refusing to give him the satisfaction of thinking I'm concerned, though my pounding pulse proves otherwise. I'm sensing anger and, regret from you. You've just split up with your wife. Well, actually, she left you. The look of utter shock on his face brings a small smile to my lips. And if you really want me to be specific, because, well, you told me to prove it, it's because you... I stop mid-sentence, squeezing my eyes shut while pressing fingers to my temple, putting on a convincing show. You cheated on her? Wait, I'm getting something else. I peek up at his face, now red with rage, as I continue rubbing my temple. You want her back, but she doesn't want you. I'm prepared for the backhand before I feel the sting of it across my face. Blood flies from my mouth, and as I keep my head turned away from him as he growls close to my face, "Bloody witch, is that what you are? Get out of my sight, mundane." I spin on my heel and smile, blood pooling from my mouth and dribbling down my chin. I force myself to stumble back into a cart, snatching some fabric hanging off the edge behind my back. I turn around quickly, clutching the bundle to my chest as I tear off the corner with my teeth to wipe up my bloody mouth and chin. I'll use part of the fabric as a napkin, and then the rest can go to Adina. Two birds with one stone. Shoving the remaining cloth in my pack, now stuffed full of food, coins, and other stolen goods, I head back to the fort, all while replaying the last 5 minutes over in my head. See, it wasn't hard to get under the Imperial's skin, and I knew once I had, he'd slap me silly and let me scurry away. That wouldn't have been the first time I've let that happen, and proving my psychic abilities was hardly difficult, considering that the evidence was written all over him. The thin, tall line on his now empty ring finger was my first clue that he was formerly married. Then there's the fact that he moved his wedding band to his other hand rather than pawning it off for money, telling me that he still cares for his ex-wife and is probably still pining over her. The disheveled hair, crumpled uniform, and smell of whiskey on his breath prove further that he is obviously a single man who no longer has a wife to make him look presentable. Men would likely go extinct without women to coddle them. As for part of as for the part where he cheated on his wife, well, that's more so of an educated guess, based on the way he looked at me, along with the stellar reputation the Imperials have for themselves. Clearly, the assumption hit a nerve before it hit me. The midday sun beats down on me as I make my way back to the fort to meet Adina for lunch. Just like always, I take my time meandering down loot, gnawing on an apple while hunger gnaws at me. The salty smell of fish baking into the sun atop merchant carts hangs in the air. Children scuttle in front of the path, laughing as they chase one another down the street. The sound of voices haggling and cursing is like a chorus to me, a tune I'm all too familiar with. A large colored banner catches my eyes as it begins to rise above the crowded alley strung between two shops by a crawler. He scurries up the wall, and though there's glue on his palms and feet, allowing him to climb up the smooth shop with ease, as he secures the rope connecting the banner to the wall, I turn my attention to the words scrawled on the green tapestry in large, black lettering. It says, "The sixth purging trials is about to begin. Remember the purging. Thank the plague. Honor your kingdom, your family, and yourself. You could be the next victorious elite." I snort loudly, nearly choking on a chunk of my apple. Although the purging trials are nothing to laugh about, I can't help but find it comical that they're meant to be a celebration. In honor of the Great Purging over 3 decades ago, the trials were created to showcase the people's supernatural abilities and bring honor to the kingdom's elites. I wouldn't say murdering innocent people brings honor to me, my kingdom, or my family. Not that I have any left to bring honor to. And yet, every 5 years, young elites are chosen to compete in these games for both the glory and enough shillings to build your own comfy castle while you try to escape the trauma of the trials caused you. Sorry, I just looked at the voice recording thing and it said it made a loud noise when I hit it with a paper, so oh, sorry about that. But the part that has me shaking with both laughter and rage is that the lesser elites, those with defensive and mundane abilities, are made to believe that they even have a chance of winning these twisted trials. I feel suddenly numb as I look at the excited faces surrounding me, all crowding under the sign, grinning and pointing. We are the first to die. The elites who compete aren't chosen, but rather born into their fate. It was always those of royal blood or higher status on the elite tiers of power. I scan the crowd, eyes skipping over the smiling faces of the mundanes who are only thrown into the trials for entertainment after the king allows us to pick who we wish to represent us. Despite the king insisting that the killing of fellow elites in the arena is frowned upon, it's no secret that death itself is a contestant in the trials. Dying teenagers apparently make things exceptionally more entertaining, and if the elites won't do the killing, the king will pull the strings in the arena. I pushed through the throng of people gathered under the sign. All throng. Dang, that's the second time she used that word, W. All talking over one another about who will represent loot and what they're going to do with the prize money. There have been very few times in life when I haven't envied the elites, but at the thought of competing in the purging trials, I've never been more thankful to be nothing and no one of importance. Completely ordinary. I'm just gonna keep going to chapter 4 since it's pay anyway. Are you gonna eat that? Adina is eyeing the half orange on my lap while I sit leaning against the alley wall behind the fort. Have at it. The words have barely slipped past my lips before she leans over, her curly hair blowing in the soft breeze as she snatches the fruit and pops a slice into her mouth. The Imperial, with the impressive backhand, left me the lovely gift of a split bottom lip, making it difficult to choke down food. How'd you do today? I asked while mindlessly spinning a thick silver wedding band on my thumb. The cold steel of my father's ring bites my skin, comforting me like it always has. I suppose I'd have my mother's too if it weren't buried with her when I was a baby. Illness, father said. She was an ordinary, after all, and a lot of us are apparently weaker, diseased humans. But he married her anyway, loved her despite it, protected her, kept her secret just as he did mine. Adina sighs. I'm brought back to the present when she says between bites of orange, can't, can't complain. Mm. Oh, I sold that top I'd been working on for ages for 3 whole shillings too. You know, the green one with the deep neckline and the scalloped hem. I give her the same confused look as I always do when she starts speaking in her sewing language. Ugh, you're hopeless when it comes to clothes, Pay. I glanced down at my battered tank beneath the olive green vest atop it. Everything changed the day Adina made me the pocketed vest, knowing that it would serve me well as a thief. That was the day an uneasy alliance had blossomed into an easy friendship. Adina taps a finger against her lips, considering something. I bet if you had on the right outfit, everybody would be too busy staring at you to even notice that you're robbing them. I snort. I'd rather not have people staring at me while I'm committing crimes. That just seems a bit counterproductive. I snatch up my dagger and tuck it into my boot, brushing my fingers along the swirling silver handle. It's the only other keepsake I have from my father besides his ring, both of which I never go without. I'm admiring the intricate handle for the 100th time before jolting, when I suddenly remember something. Be careful today, A. There are fewer guards out than usual for some reason, and I don't like it. I struggle to find the right words. Just keep an eye out for anything out of the ordinary, okay? She looks slightly unsettled by the news, but the narrowing of her hazel eyes playful. Is this your psychic juju warning you of potential danger? Yeah, we definitely need to work on your subtlety, I sigh, shaking my head as I give her a smile. I stand to leave, groaning as I stretch my sore body. Adina gathers her clothes, all varying in different sizes and colors, then reluctantly waves goodbye before heading back out onto loot in the hopes of selling more items before sundown. I step out into the crowded street, bathed in late afternoon sunlight, and head towards the buzz of the marketplace. I start off easy, first, thinking some fruits and fabric before growing bored and moving on to better items. Wallets, watches, and shillings are all what I'm really for this evening. I spy a man with dark blue hair and a glittering watch adorning his thick wrist before quickly deciding to make him my next target. Peering down at the packed street, I spot a few others with abnormally colored hair dotting in the crowd. Evidence that a generic altering plague comes with more perks than just supernatural abilities. Though even with the mop of a silver hair atop my head, I still wasn't gifted a power to accompany it. It takes me far too long to escape the blue-haired man after stealing his watch. Not because he caught me, but because he wouldn't stop talking to me. After stumbling into him and slyly slipping the accessory from his wrist, it was clear the poor man was dying to spew gossip with anyone willing to smile and nod. I'm about ready to head in early and call it a decent, successful night when a tall figure, completely clad in black, strolls onto loot. He walks with an air of confidence, so at odds with the hunch that the homeless have adapted in the hopes of drawing as little attention to themselves as possible. But this man is making it difficult to look away. He wears a loose black button down, tucked into slim black pants, and separated by a simple belt. His collared shirt is halfway unbuttoned, billowing open the breeze that exposes the part of the tan chest. His facial features are fuzzy from the distance, but his tar black hair falls over the top of his forehead in messy waves. With his hand buried in his pockets, he longly strives to carry him deeper into the market, looking cool and collected. He's not from here. I can see it by the way he looks around, as if taking it all in. It's likely he's an elite of higher status or noble blood who rarely sets foot in the slums. I can see it in the way that he walks, in the shine of his shoe, that this man will be carrying far more than a few measly shillings. I squint, trying to get an idea of where he might have slipped his silvers. There! Swinging against his leg, attached from his belt with a strap, hangs a pouch that many Ilians used to carry change, specifically the competent ones, saying that an unguarded pouch is easy pickings for a thief, easy pickings for me. My last unlucky target for the night. It's a good thing he's so bleeding tall, or else I would have lost him in the swarm of people. I watch women of all ages crane their necks as he passes, trying to get a better view of the handsome stranger before he melts into the mass of people. I shove through the crowd and tail him until he steps out of the main path between the merchant carts and onto less crowded streets. I shake out my hair, letting the long waves fall limply over my shoulder as I cut down the street, heading to cut him off. The back alley I zigzag through spits me out onto the same one the stranger strolled down, and now I'm heading straight for him. I keep my eyes glued to the ground when we collide. Following my usual routine, I let myself stumble backward from the impact, fighting against every instinct screaming in me to plant my feet and stand my ground. Strong arms wrap around my waist to keep me from falling, leaving his money pouch open and exposed to lowlifes like me. I grab a hold of the front of his shirt, acting as a reflex to keep my balance. But really, I just needed a reason to have my hands so close to his body without looking suspicious. The starving boys from Loot didn't feel like this. The thought, dang, me saying that, gay. The thought dissolves when I reach my hand into the pouch of his hips. My fingers deduce that there are at least 20 shillings casually hanging from the man's belt. He must be very confident in his abilities to walk around Loot with so much, well, loot. I'm tempted to rip off the pouch and run, knowing full well that he'll catch me in about 3 long strides, but not knowing when I'll quite literally run to this opportunity again. I refuse to leave with at least half of what's in his bag. But he's gonna feel the weight difference if I take half. My mind is reeling. Well, then distract him. With all the plotting happening within a matter of moments, I quickly and quietly clutch half of the coins in my fist before carefully pulling my hand out of the pouch as I steady myself against him. Then I slowly tear my gaze from his partially exposed chest where the edge of a dark tattoo peeks out from behind the fold. My eyes finally meet his. It's like looking into a storm. His eyes are the color of thunderclouds setting over Ilia, of smoke puffing from chimneys overhead, of stolen silver coins clenched in my fist. His black, long lashes are in total contrast with his gray eyes now sweeping across my face. Shock raises his dark brows, tightens his sharp jaw, emphasizes his strong cheekbones. We stand there, staring at each other. I'm suddenly acutely aware of every place he's touching me. His strong arms are still wrapped around my waist, half holding me up. though his gaze feels like a caress in it of itself. I clear my throat as I remove my fist hand from his shirt, revealing crumpled fine fabric beneath before moving to step out of his hold. His lips twitch, allowing me to glimpse a dimple on his right cheek. He slowly slides his arms from my waist, releasing me as his hands catch on the rough bottom of my vest. Calluses. He's a fighter. Not that I need to be a psychic to figure that out, seeing that his physique makes that fact obvious. With the thought of him being a trained fighter and double my size and mine, I nonchalantly pull my hands behind me to hide the evidence of my crime. The coins slide silently into my back pocket as I take a deep breath, trying to pull myself together. Do you always fall into the arms of handsome strangers, or is this new for you? His question displays that dimple again when a grin settles on his face, revealing white, straight teeth. No, only the cocky ones. I smiled coolly while he looks at me. I'm a puzzle he's trying to decipher, amusement playing all over his face. Distract them. His chuckle. He chuckles and runs a hand through his ebony hair, only managing to make the waves messier. Gray eyes search mine as he says, well, looks like I've made quite the first impression then. Yes, I say slowly, though I still haven't decided if it was a good or bad one yet. Keep his mind off the money, his focus on you. He shrugs, shoving his hands into his pocket. Yeesh, remix. The perfect picture of cool indifference. I caught you, didn't I? Now it's my turn to laugh. He cocks his head slightly to the side as he peers down at me, the corner of his mouth tilted up. Leaning in, he adds, maybe you should consider that detail before you decide, darling. Plagues, a pretty boy with pretty words. Dangerous. His smoky eyes sweep across my face once again, looking at me as though I'm an intriguing riddle. I refuse to fidget under his gaze as I take a step backward towards the busy street. I'll keep it under consideration, darling. I draw out the last word, mimicking him with a grin. His smile widens, displaying dimples on both of his cheeks. I force myself to ignore them as I add, and thank you for saving me from eating cobblestone. I seem to have been cursed with clumsiness. Well, for your clumsiness found me, I'd hardly call it a curse, he says simply, now leaning against the wall with his hand in his pocket. I smile, unable to suppress the eye roll that accompanies it. I glimpse at his grin one last time before spinning on my heel and walking back onto Loot Alley, disappearing into the crowd. My mind is reeling, replaying the observations I made of him as I make my way down to Loot. The scars splattering his arm and the raw knuckle from a recent fight intrigued me the most. And it's almost a shame I wouldn't have discovered the story that accompanies them. The thought of an offensive elite wearing scars almost brings a smile to my lips. Proof of weakness. I grab the coins in my back pocket, letting them clink in my palm with a triumphant smile. I doubt he'll be missing these.